that yes, mental health issues they are there in reality. They are not created, they're not made up, and people anywhere and everywhere can be affected by these. Let's first look at what a mental health issue looks like. So it is very important to see the frequency, the duration, and the intensity of a negative feeling inside you. How to resolve it, or you just sometimes feel stuck, like there's nowhere to go, there is nothing to look forward to. So, like we have fever or some other physical manifestation, these are inner manifestations, something inside going wrong. That's about it. Kids growing up with such low self-esteem, they feel unloved, they feel unworthy, they feel helpless. And this is not how children are supposed to feel. I think we need to create kids who are so high on self-awareness.
Hello, everyone. We are back again with yet another interesting episode of something that is not really talked about. So, we are going to discuss mental health about teenagers and young adults. Here we have today our expert who has a very diverse portfolio. Please welcome Asmita Javdekar. Hello, Asmita. So,
Hi,
she is going to
Rashmi.
talk about mental health counseling and everything related to that. Right. So, Asmita, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit before we begin?
Sure, Rashmi. Thank you so much for having me here today. And actually, a big congratulations to the trio, you, Renu, as well as Sujata. I think you all are doing a wonderful job of creating awareness as well as having wellness and educative programs around gut health. So, coming to me, my name is Asmita Javdekar. And like Rashmi said, I do have a very diversified portfolio. Like most Indians, I've done my engineering in electronics and telecommunication. After doing that, I figured out or decided what I really wanted to do. So post engineering, I actually got married and had a child within a year. So I got busy with those 3 years of my life. And you know then how women have this niggling sensation, this niggling feeling that there's nothing that I'm doing in life. And that's exactly where I found myself. And I started helping my husband with a family business. So I did a stint with marketing and sales in a construction business. What I did figure is I had a very natural knack for business, and I really enjoyed being a part of the whole ecosystem of business. So then going forward, I started my own jewelry brand called Atman. Now, Atman was one of the premier, I think, fashion jewelry labels which started shipping globally. So we created this brand, and I actually worked for a good 7 to 8 years. And it's important to mention Atman here because that's my learning ground for a lot of things related to psychology. This is where I met people. This is where I started understanding that people love to talk to me. They love to share problems, and how easy it is to connect with a stranger, with someone you don't know absolutely nothing about. So they used to come and tell me about their achievements, their highs, their lows, their issues. And I got very, very curious and interested in understanding the workings behind the behavior or the outward projection that we see. I also started writing blogs while I was meeting people. And these blogs were about my everyday interactions, stories of, inspiration. So after that, I thought that maybe it's time that beyond business, I need to do something which has been tugging at my heartstrings. So psychology was like a natural extension, but we were in a lockdown. It was 2020, and there was no way I could enroll into anything. So the whole world was clawed down. We were in a pandemic. So I published my first book of short stories called Unlocked. Now, Unlocked is these really simple everyday stories of the extraordinary which is in the ordinary. So stories of hope, of joy, of everyday beauty, which we've forgotten probably in our day-to-day mundaneness. Of course, 2022, then I went on to enroll for my master's in psychology. And I'm almost towards the end of it. So I just have my dissertation left. And while I was pursuing it, I also did my internship at one of the big hospitals in Pune. So I've been working a lot with children who have autism, and I'm parallelly doing a postgraduate diploma in autism spectrum management through Pune University itself. So this has been my journey so far. What a very interesting aspect of this is, I started a couple of years back, I started taking these sessions as a listener or a buddy. So I put this out through my social media that anyone and everyone who wants to just talk out, I'm here. I'm not going to provide you any therapy, any advice, any recommendation. I'm just going to sit and listen to you. And you will be surprised, Rashmi, the number of people, the number of complete strangers who approached me simply to pour their heart out. So my role was to be an active listener. And I have some wonderful insights through this journey as a listener or a buddy. So this has been my journey so far. I've actually also taught in the meantime. I've done a stint with Teach for India, and I've taught spoken English for employment. Again, a very different category of young adults, and to understand their aspirations and their fears before, finishing school and getting into the actual world. So this has been the diverse story of my life so far.
That has been a really amazing, really diverse journey. It's interesting to know how people come to you and talk about their problems. And it is so important to be a good listener. That's what everybody wants. Because whenever we are talking about adults, for example, parents, everybody has some kind of a mental health issue. We are not talking about it, but let's admit that yes, we do have it. But when it comes to our children, especially teenagers and young adults,
Right.
it seems like even bigger taboo to talk about it. That parents like to brush it under the carpet, that oh, our children don't have any such issues at all. They don't want to address it. They don't want to help their teenagers. And it's not that they don't want to, but they don't want to label them as having some kind of mental health issues or emotional health issues. So how do we help parents to overcome this and really address this issue that they need help?
Right.
It is very important that we do something like that.
Yes. So, Rashmi, a very key topic that you mentioned, or the phrase that you mentioned here, is brushing it under the carpet. So, where did this come from? So, if we can just look at the timeline of how our perspective regarding or around mental health has been shaped, I think I would like to use personal anecdotes here. So, I think the first time I ever came across the word mental health problem, it was not even called that time. I've been brought up in a Marathi household. So I remember as a child, maybe as a 5 or a 6-year-old, I remember hearing things like, "Tivedi hai, to veda hai." There's something wrong with them. They're crazy. And as kids, we were supposed to be very careful around these people. They could have these violent outbursts. You were not supposed to go there without supervision. You were supposed to stay away. And it was very hush hush. You could not talk about, if you had a person like this in your family, you were not supposed to talk about it at all. So now just imagine our generation who's grown up with things like this, with conditioning like this. As parents, isn't it natural that the first thing, our knee-jerk reaction is, "Shh, no, this doesn't exist." I think Bollywood movies has not made it any better. Remember those mental hospital scenes and the shock treatment. So we have grown up with stigmatization. Now, over the period of time, I think slowly and steadily things started changing. So I remember when I got married, which was a good 20 years back, there was suddenly these marital counselors which came on the scene because divorces had started becoming prevalent, especially in India. Then by the time my daughter started going to school, there used to be a school counselor. So any child who was, crying too much or was timid or had some issues, behavioral problems, they could go and see a behavioral counselor. But I think in the last, not even 10, I would say in the last 5 years, there's been a lot of awareness, there's been a lot of noise, and social media has played a big role in this. Now, the thing with social media is, although it's been very informative, it is a double-edged sword. So it also gives rise to a lot of misinformation, right? But at least we are now in a position where we are aware. We've started accepting that, yes, mental health issues they are there in reality. They are not created, they're not made up. And people anywhere and everywhere can be affected by these. So they are, regardless of your class, your economic background, your educational qualifications, your age. Children as young as preschoolers can really have, neurodevelopmental or behavioral issues. So it is there, it is all around us, it is reality today. What we need to understand is we need to normalize it. We should be able to accept that it is okay to be okay. But at the same time, there should be enough self-awareness and awareness that this is not like an excuse or a comfort cushion that one is using to get away from things. So this is very, very important here. Like as parents, I'm sure it is very difficult, especially if children come to you and say that, I'm not feeling good, I'm feeling really depressed. Or they'll use words like, I have panic attacks. So the first thing, what we do is we're like, just keep quiet. Or even as adults, if a friend comes to me or someone else and says that I have an issue, what would you do? I think there's so many times if I've been to someone, the first thing they'll say is, "Sukh bujhte, you're just too happy. Even you're almost pulling out problems to make sure that there's something wrong. Everything is just so right. Your children are doing fine. Your husband's good. You've got a great family. You're doing well. Academically, what's wrong with you? Doesn't matter. You can have problems, right? So physically, you do have a fever. You have a runny nose. You're under the weather. This is disease or this is uncomfort or discomfort related to your internal environment. It's as simple as that. So like we have fever or some other physical manifestation, these are inner manifestations, something inside going wrong. That's about it.
Yes, what you said is very, very right. That the conditioning that we have been through, whatever we have seen in Bollywood, in our society, in our houses, has only taught us to keep quiet about it, not talk about it. And now things have changed in the past 20 years. Things have changed, like you said, about the social media awareness. There's so much being talked about in terms of mental health on social media. And there are a lot of things that also cause anxiety, that also cause these behaviors when children or teenagers or young adults see content like that on social media. Then there is another factor of gut health, poor gut health, because in the past 2 decades, the diet has moved to a very, very Western, very, very non-nutritive, and the lifestyle is also very sedentary. So when we combine all of these things, there are increased risks of not just chronic diseases, but very poor gut health, leading to lesser production of neurotransmitters that keep us happy, that keep us relaxed, that keep us calm. And when these teenagers and young adults don't have those neurotransmitters, they are going to have mental health issues. So while parents don't know about this, most people are not aware about what gut health means, what the microbiome does. We do a lot of awareness to help people understand what is going on in their lives, their children's lives, their teenagers' lives, so on and so forth. So when we are talking about all of these issues that are leading to even more mental health issues, now we see high schoolers who are on antidepressants. There's a very high number of high schoolers. I don't want to give that number right now, but it is very, very shocking. So when we see such things, it is so important to make the parents aware that, yes, this is a real thing. And it's not just dependent on what is happening inside the house or what is happening at school. It is also dependent on the kind of content that these teenagers and young adults are watching. It is also dependent on their circles, on the food that they are eating, on their entire lifestyle. So what is it that you would encourage or tell parents to look out for? How do they even start talking to their teenagers and young adults that this might be an issue? Come,
Right.
let's address it together. So what is it that you would recommend?
Okay. I think, Rashmi, let's first look at what a mental health issue looks like. Very often, we feel that I am feeling low today, I might have a problem. Okay. So it is very important to see the frequency, the duration, and the intensity of a negative feeling inside you. So how long does this last? How intense these outbursts are, how extreme these reactions are, and how frequently is this happening? it is very, very advisable to go and talk to a more knowledgeable other, someone you can share your problem with, or someone can shed more perspective on light on what is actually happening, because you tend to get very confused there. There is a lot of conflict inside. There is a lot of dissonance inside where you don't know how to get through it, how to resolve it, or you just sometimes feel stuck, like there's nowhere to go, there is nothing to look forward to. And so it's important that, like, whatever that you're experiencing right now, is it actually hindering your roles and responsibilities in life? Are you facing a problem when it comes to your relationships? If that is the case, if it is interfering with your day-to-day activities, with your responsibilities, with your relationships, it needs to be looked at very, very seriously. And I think it's important that parents understand that kids are not looking for advice from you. They don't want you to, however good your advice is, they don't want you to advise them. They're looking for a relationship. They want someone to listen to them and say it is okay. We as parents are usually, we either end up ridiculing, mocking, or making, belittling the child, or just brushing it aside like it doesn't exist. What kids or young adults interpret this as, it's not the suffering that they are belittling, but our parents are in entirety, they're just brushing us away. So that affects their self-esteem and their whole positioning of what they start thinking about themselves. So we need to be understanding. There is a very beautiful word called empathy. I think most people often confuse that with sympathy, which is feeling bad or trying to help someone. But empathy is a little more than that. It is when you place yourself in the other person's situation, and for that, active listening or listening to what that person is saying is important. Listening not only to the verbal communication, but other things like their body language, their expression, the tone of voice. And you will understand that there's so much more information you get just by looking or checking in and seeing how the kids are doing. So even, the relationship between parents and kids these days have become very virtual. So most of the communication is over WhatsApp or even Instagram. And what happens is, when this little distance is created, you don't know the smaller changes that are taking place. So I think as parents, it's important that they regularly check in to understand with what's happening with the kids. Have small rituals, as simple as going for a walk post dinner. Go for a moonlight walk, chit chat, have a chat with your child, find out what's happening. So these are the ways the issue will come to you. Conversations can be encouraged, listenings can be encouraged. And empathy is actually finding the echo of that person in yourself. So when you see their situation, see how they're going, what they're going through, and experience it as if it's your own situation, um, maintaining the as if quality, okay? But that is empathy. So I think it's very important. Even children need to cultivate this, and so do adults. So having open communication channels, normalizing talks around mental health. In fact, if you find it very difficult to have a relationship with your child where it's very difficult to address such things, you can always create an example, project it onto someone else and say, this is what my friend is going through. Do you think it's okay if she goes and sees someone? Trust me, children are so much more aware. So because I'm like a freshly minted college student right now, I've hung out with young adults, and you won't believe how openly they communicate about mental health issues. So they are very aware, they talk, but like I said, so there is sometimes so much, once you say that something's wrong with me, you can attract so much attention. So I don't want people to do it for a wrong reason, because then the real voices get stifled. And that's why I think the right kind of therapists, the right counselors, the right parents, caregivers, educators all need to be there. And they need to support this movement equally.
Yes, so you brought out a very important point that our conditioning has been quite different to, not talk about all of these issues. But the children have grown up with social media. So they are seeing very different things. They don't have that kind of conditioning. They might at home, but not outside. So they think that it is okay to have mental health issues, but not talk to their parents because the parents are still not okay hearing about it. So that's a very weird situation. And it's in most cases, parents are eating a much healthier diet. At least they have had during their childhood, and their children are not. So there's a very large disparity in the lifestyle, in the food, in the conditioning. So it becomes even more difficult to connect with children because we have grown up in very different times, very different situations. So it is hard for parents to even try and relate to what is happening in their children's lives. So we get this from teenagers very often, that, oh, you don't understand what kind of pressures we have. And yes, we actually don't. So it is even more difficult. So the pointers that you gave are very useful, that we have to trust that they actually know they're going through something. They're probably even more aware than us because we never admit we are going through anything. So that is one thing that we need to do. And as you said, giving examples of other people or projecting it on other people is a very good, I think it's a very good tip. So it is very difficult for parents to be good listeners because we have received advice all our life. And that's what we keep doing, that, oh, we hear something from our child, the first thing that comes out of our mouth is advice, that, oh, you shouldn't have done something like this or whatever. So that makes it even more difficult for kids to come and talk to us. So parents really have to learn to be better listeners. I guess that's what you have also been saying. It is
Yes.
very, very important
Yes.
to be better listeners. And when parents are able to find out these issues, like something is really going on in their child's life, in their teenager's life, there are so many different things. There are hormonal issues they're going through, and they are choosing their careers. It's a very difficult time for teenagers or young adults, even otherwise. On top of that, you add all of these social pressures, the pressure of looking good, the pressure of not having enough friends. They need to have enough friends also, but the pressure of having followers on social media. There are just too many things that they have. So what is it that you would recommend for parents to do? What are the easy things for parents that they can do when they actually reach out to their teenagers? And if their teenagers or young adults have serious mental health or emotional health issues, what are the things that they can easily do?
Okay. First, a very underrated thing is for parents to lead by example. It is very important that parents indulge in self-care, in self-awareness. When a child sees their parents finding time for things which are important, like a healthy lifestyle, exercise, a hobby, something like that, it automatically rubs off on the child. So if my daughters see me studying right now, they get encouraged and inspired and understand that there is a life, there is something that I do. I pursue my passions which are beyond my mundane day-to-day work. Uh, Also, I think for parents who are constantly adulting and hustling, sometimes you can be vulnerable. You can cry, you can have openly display your emotions, you can seek help, because then even children understand that this is okay. It's okay not to be okay. It's not such a big deal. So it's very, these are very simple things in life. It is very important that children and parents spend quality time together. Maybe, have food together. Now, these may seem like really trivial things, but for children to take an active role in helping around the house, to have a goal or to have a purpose which is bigger than themselves. So what happens is we are making kids who are very selfish these days. We don't encourage them to think beyond themselves. So once the child starts taking into account or doing something which is slightly for a wider audience, it could be for the parents, it could be for their siblings, for friends, automatically uh, their why in life or the purpose or the reason for going on, it grows. And once they have this purpose to go on, it decreases the chances of having unnecessary distorted thoughts and distorted versions of them playing in their minds. So involve them in smaller activities, encourage healthy lifestyles, let them go out and play. It is not only about academics. Let them have a nice, robust extracurricular life as well. So all this ensures that they have a great social circle, they go and volunteer, they have good set of friends, they have good people around them. And once they have people who are mentally healthy and sound, they create an ecosystem like that, there are more chances that they will themselves stay solid and be able to help others who are going through a problem. So that can definitely be done. Also, mental discipline. So what happens is our subconscious it gets programmed with simple tasks of doing the same things again and again. So if you think that you can't do something, take the pen and paper and start writing on it multiple number of times. Start doing things. If you like, say what you do and do what you mean, like say what you mean and do as you say. So simply what happens is when you start saying something, you start doing it, you trust yourself more, the sense of responsibility increases, and you become more confident and your self-esteem goes up. Okay. Similarly, a time for everything, everything in that time, a place for everything, and everything in that place. Remove the mental clutter, have the mental discipline. It's like how consistency in your physical workout ensures that you have enough number of muscles and your muscles keep growing. This is consistency in your mental workout. A mental workout, making sure that you do take out time for self-care, you make sure that you are indulging in, say, a hobby like music, you are actively participating in something like doodling, something like painting. So I just a few days back, I think I ordered some set of colors and books to give as gifts for little kids. And I kept fun for myself and I was just scribbling and doing something. So my younger daughter came to me and she's like, Mama, are you healing your inner child? So this is their kind of awareness. And I quite kind of appreciated that. And I said, yes, I am. So once they see something like a parent doing this, I'm sure it's easier for them to express themselves as well.
You brought out one very interesting aspect. So there were many things that you just mentioned, very easy things that parents can do along with their kids. But the thing that you mentioned about children being taught, I mean, they are led to be just themselves. You know, parents actually encourage them to just think about themselves. I don't know why this trend is going on, but they don't think of this entire family. Like, I do not see children doing any work at home. They don't contribute to
Absolutely.
cooking, and they don't see themselves as a part of this larger family. So when they are so isolated, they are only thinking about themselves. It is so much easier to have any kind of mental health or emotional health issues. But when they start thinking, or when parents start encouraging their children to do things at home because they are a part of the family, it is so much easier for them to think about this, that okay, things might not be okay with me, but the bigger picture is it's still okay. Everybody is still okay. As a family, we are okay. So that will definitely reduce the burden of all of these emotional and mental health
Right.
issues, because everybody goes through something at some point of a time. It's so much
Absolutely.
easier. But when the focus is entirely on you, that, oh, this is happening in my life, this is happening, it's constantly working that way, then it's a lot easier for teenagers or young adults to have these kind of mental health issues. So as you rightly said, it is very important for parents to get them involved in tasks at home, because and the discipline, also mental discipline that you talked about. When anybody has that kind of a mental discipline, dopamine is released when we actually complete certain tasks, and that dopamine is going to suppress the norepinephrine, which is preventing us from doing all of the things that we want to do, the laziness that comes, that, oh, I'll do this tomorrow. But when we actually complete a task and we have enough dopamine, then we have that, oh, it's a reward, like
Right.
satisfaction, that, oh, I've finished something, I've accomplished something. So to reach that, of course, we need mental discipline. That is something that is very, very important to teach children at a young age. I'm sure when they have it, it will be a lot easier to handle any kind of stress and mental health issues. So those self-care things, that also, whatever you mentioned, parents are the best examples. Children are always looking at their parents, whether they know it or not. And when parents are looking after themselves, when they are taking care of themselves, when their diet is also good enough, to help them produce the right kind of neurotransmitters, they are going to be in better shape. The children are going to be in better shape, and everybody will be in much better mental health, because it's so easy to just go to a psychiatrist and give antidepressants to children. But really the focus, I'm sure, should be on improving the lifestyle, should be on improving communication in the family, should be on
Absolutely.
improving all of these other things which most parents give up on very easily.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you also see?
I definitely see that. And what is happening is there's this gap which is keeping it just like keeps on increasing between these two generations, and it's causing a slight clash. And sometimes parents give up and they say, "Yeah, it's their life and let them manage it." And sometimes kids end up feeling very helpless and they grow up with a very distorted version of reality. So either with really low self-esteem. So these are in fact, core beliefs which get programmed into children. So these come from family, they come from experiences, and of course the world around them. So it's our responsibility to make sure that some positive core beliefs are getting programmed into our children. But I see a lot of times these days this is not the case. You will see kids growing up with such low self-esteem, they feel unloved, they feel unworthy, they feel helpless. And this is not how children are supposed to feel. So I think as a society, it's our role, it's our duty to make sure we create an environment where our kids can thrive. It is more than competition. It's more. So even in fact, with social media, what happens is they see these 30 seconds, 60-second reels where they see these grandiose, beautiful lifestyles, great looking people, great bodies. They don't know what happens in the other 23 hours of their life. They're probably pushing down pain and grief and a lot of issues themselves. But they see this very romanticized, very exaggerated kind of reality, and this is what they imagine their own life to be. And when that does not match, there is a lot of cognitive dissonance which is caused. So I think we need to create kids who are so high on self-awareness. Once they start realizing that I know what I'm going through, I know what I need to do for this, and if I don't know, I have my mother, I have my father, I have someone, some responsible other in the family who I can go and talk to. It will give them this sense of comfort and security, which is greatly missing these days.
Absolutely. It is so important that we involve children and make them see real people, real life. A lot of children are very shielded from real life, and they see all of these artificial things on social media, in movies, and that's what is their opinion about real life. They have no idea what real life is. So it is our duty as parents to bring them into the real world, keep them involved with us. And we really need to stop saying this, that, oh, they will learn on their own. No, they are not there to learn on their own. We are there to guide them. I see a lot of parents doing that let them learn on their own. That's not their age for young children to learn on their own. They need some kind of a guidance. So whatever pointers you just gave for parents were very, very useful, very easy to do. And I think it will really help a lot of parents to look at signs of whether there is any kind of an issue with their teenagers or young adults, and go and approach them and try to be a good listener, try to resolve what is happening in their lives and probably their own lives as well. So it will be a lot better as a family to focus on what is happening, to focus on the balanced diet, to get all the wonderful neurotransmitters, and to stay away from all of these distracting ideas of what is happening. So thank you so
Absolutely,
much,
Rashmi.
Asmita.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful tips. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Rashmi.